a question burning in the back of everyone's minds. Has Lindsay Lohan converted to Islam finally? We're going to talk about that after Lindsay Lohan decided, I'm going to delete all of my photos on my Instagram. And the 30-year-old actress then put a header to read Alaikum Assalam, a phrase that translates to, and unto you, peace, in Arabic. Now everyone, Twitter users are assuming that she is fully converted. We have photos of Lindsay Lohan wearing a headscarf in the end of 2016. She is partially a partial owner of a nightclub establishment in Turkey. She has praised Recep Tayyip Erdogan. She's been heard saying the phrase, "The world is bigger than five," which is like a common Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the Turkish president's phrase that he uses consistently. And then she also had a weird accent. And we're going to talk about that. What's going on? What do you think, Grace?
Well, I don't know what is going on with her. I don't think many of us have known the answer to that question. Even Oprah, since, I don't know, a little bit after Just My Luck came out. However, if she has converted to a new religion, I would think more power to her if she finds comfort in this religion. You know, I'm a big advocate for religious freedom. So I would think while the course of her life is certainly not what we would have predicted when Mean Girls came out, being a club owner in Turkey is probably not where I thought she would be. I genuinely thought, especially when she was in the movie Bobby and when she was in Prairie Home Companion acting alongside Meryl Streep, I kind of assumed that she might be one of those young child actors, sort of like a Natalie Portman, that really found a role that she knocked out of the park and maybe even got an Oscar nod. Or look at how Emma Stone has evolved from Easy A or from Zombieland to La La Land. Wow, Zombieland, La La Land. It's almost like I planned that out before I said it, didn't. In any case, I think that her life has taken a lot of interesting turns, but it seems like she's really happy. My question for you, because we talked about this a little while ago, her ties to the Turkish government, or at least to the Turkish...
Weird. Why is she talking about...
harmful or not harmful? Like, is she on the good side or the bad side? Is there a good side, bad side? I don't know if a lot of our viewers know. You have to explain
this. I can't even break down the complicated, nuanced Turkish coup d'etat or where the Turkish government is heading currently.
Explain it like we're five. Explain to us like we're five.
All I can tell you is... Turkey has had basically a transition into a dictatorship with Recep Tayyip Erdogan kind of manning the helm, I guess. Is that a proper phrase for it?
That's a phrase.
For over the past 15 years. And Lindsay Lohan has gone on social media multiple times and praised him and has even gone as far as to say Erdogan did really well and his people really admiring and respecting him as the first elected president. This is a big deal. And it's really weird because it feels like it's a scripted line that someone fed her before she said it. Just like, Erdogan is really just doing a great job. It's like, why are you involving yourself with Turkish politics of all matters? I don't understand. And it's just, I don't know what the hell's going on.
So if she is maybe sort of propped up some sort of a spokesperson for the Erdogan regime, is this... Do Turkish people look upon this favorably or not favorably, or does it depend on what your background is?
No, I think Turkish people... No, because Erdogan's supporters are largely rural. He's incredibly popular. So obviously there's people in cities that support Erdogan as well. But for the most part, if I'm going to overgeneralize and oversimplify something super complicated, I'm going to say that they're largely like a more conservative majority. They're very religious. They kind of dig Erdogan's style. It's very similar to Donald Trump's, but in a more Turkish, more Muslim way, where he's the charismatic, fearless leader that, isn't afraid to crush his enemies, right?
So
very
it seems
similar.
like if he's sort of from the religious...
And what I'm saying is, but what I'm trying to say is if you're a supporter of Erdogan, you probably don't really give a shit about Lindsay Lohan. You're probably not like, oh, what is this American woman doing? Like, oh, she praised Erdogan? Who cares? So people think that Lindsay Lohan is in the pocket of the Turkish government, and obviously the Turks have taken to Twitter and criticized it or questioned it in a more humorous way. They're like, why couldn't they get Bono or Sean Penn? Why couldn't we pay a larger celebrity like Rihanna? So it's kind of funny. People are just making fun of it overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems as though or maybe it's possible that we can speculate on. Look at how vague these terms are that I'm using, but here we go. That maybe Lindsay Lohan is being used to sort of be the face of the Erdogan regime for Westerners, for people who are not familiar with what's going on in Turkey, or for maybe Western Europe. I thought there was a little bit of a discussion about Turkey wanting to join the EU, and that's why the expression "the world is bigger than five" comes into play, and maybe Lindsay being the mouthpiece for that, being sort of a spokesperson of sorts, they view it as helpful, and maybe she was...
No. Everyone's aware that Lindsay Lohan talking positively about the Turkish government is not really going to move the needle as far as Turkey's inclusion within the EU. A country of 90 million Muslims isn't going to magically enter the EU after constant negotiations for the past 20 years, after plenty of other countries that don't have even half the economic impact that Turkey does, being the 17th largest economy in the world, have entered so easily. Having an ongoing conflict in Cyprus, where the northern part of Cyprus is still technically, by European standards, occupied Turkish territory, and the southern part of Cyprus is still occupied by Greece. Turkey's never going to join the EU. There will eventually be special, like a special membership for Turkey or countries like Turkey, where they'll benefit from the economic advantages of having a massive country full of young people that are ready to work, just like Germany did back in the day when they migrated Turkish workers into Germany post World War II. That'll happen. Has nothing to do with Lindsay Lohan.
So you kind of view this as
doesn't matter.
A non-factor.
Look,
an interesting story, but a non-factor.
But look, see, so this is actually pretty interesting. Like, with the Brexit, right? People were criticizing the bureaucracy, as they call it, bureaucrats. They are these. They're basically bureaucrats that work in the EU that control the entirety of Europe and a massive chunk of the world's trade, by restricting certain things, by regulating, and that was a big reason for Brexit, okay? Had nothing to do with public opinion, though. Has the UK officially left the European Union? No, they're still under it, and they will still continue to. What I'm trying to say is, the bureaucrats largely don't give a shit about public opinion. So whether Turkish people think it's a good idea that we should join the EU or not, doesn't really matter to the European Union. Will they have a beneficial impact on trade? Will it be better for the European macroeconomics? Then Turkey will join the European Union. If not, then they won't.
Yeah, I was going to say, and speaking of public opinion, I don't think public opinion has really cared about Lindsay Lohan's work in a long time. The last thing I remember seeing and tuning in for was a special she did with Oprah, and then also I watched her when she had the comeback on Saturday Night Live.
And then we saw her get abused by her fiance too. We covered it, remember?
We have covered it. It's kind of been a sad turn of events. So if she has found peace in religion, then absolutely I would celebrate that. But it's the story. I like that we were able to talk about this, you and I, because last time we covered it, it was I was on the main Pop Trigger show and like not with you, and I just talked with you about it beforehand, and you were like, okay, there's so much going on in the Turkish government, so I'm glad we sort of got to dive into that now and sort of what the ramifications and the implications of Lindsay Lohan advocating for the Erdogan regime are to our viewers, because I think it's a really interesting story, but I still can't really make that much sense of it, but I certainly can make more sense of it.
And also
than
as
when I came in
someone
here.
who's raised Muslim and is now agnostic, I don't understand why anyone would convert to any religion, let alone Islam, especially as a woman. I will put that in there. It's insensitive, but I said it, and I don't give a shit. But we want to hear from you guys. Is Lindsay Lohan a pawn of the Turkish government? What's going on? Is she actually converted to Islam? What does her Instagram say? Do you want to see more of it? Is this a desperate attempt to get more attention from the public that she's been deprived of?
Is she researching a role?
Probably not. But we want to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to Pop Trigger if this is your first video and you're like, wow, I really like it when people talk about highbrow political concepts in an article about Lindsay Lohan's conversion to Islam. I'm Hasan, this is Grace Baldridge, and we'll see you next time on Pop Trigger.